All right, welcome to another edition of the Southeastern Sports Network podcast. As we are finally to game week, we've been doing these for the last month, and now it's time for actual football against an opponent. And that opponent this week is the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs. Happy to have you with us talking about the game this week. I'm Robbie Rhodes, along with Mark Willoughby, and our special guest this week covering the Bulldogs up there in Ruston is Ben Carlisle. Ben, thanks for being with us tonight. Happy to have you with us talking about this game and finally seeing these two teams play a different opponent for the first time this year.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate you guys having me on. And it's college football season. We got a little bit of a taste of it in week 0, but things will really start to ramp up here in week 1. And like I said, really excited to chat about Louisiana Tech and Southeastern tonight.
Mark and I have been doing this for such a long time. I remember going to Ruston in 2000. Was it 8? Mark was the first time I think that I was doing. Yeah, last time we played him, and just seeing the stadium, seeing the facility. Then we didn't go back again for very obviously just scheduling reasons until 2021, and the transformation of that stadium. And you saw it on a yearly basis, so forgive me, but the transformation of Louisiana Tech's facilities and the stadium itself with the end zone complex, the new press box, video boards, game day experience was just maybe one of the most dramatic jumps that I've seen in doing this for almost 20 years from a stadium and a game day atmosphere in that time period that I've seen. So to me, and we as kind of people in the arena, I guess, of our individual universities, we always think we can do more right. But to me, it really stood to me of how much Louisiana Tech fans, athletic department, administration, their boosters have elevated the stadium and the experience at Louisiana Tech in football. That stuck with me so much from when I walked on campus in 2021 from what it looked like in 2008. Just talk about, the buy-in, and I'm gonna tie that into also this move to the Sun Belt and how important that is for Louisiana Tech. So just talk about the transformation up there with football and going into the Sun Belt Conference in the future.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. You talk about Louisiana Tech football, and obviously they got a rich history, but I think when, you talk about going back to 2008, and I remember growing up as a kid coming to games, and you see, the players entering, coming down the hill down there, in the south end zone, and how that's evolved with the Davison Athletic Complex. You mentioned the press box. They put up the big Jumbotron. I guess that was maybe prior to 2007, I believe, when Derek Dooley got here. Ironically enough, now that you guys are coming back in 2025, they got a brand new scoreboard that went up last year. They're working on some North End Zone Academic Center. I don't think they've actually started the building part of it just yet, but you'll see all the dirt work ongoing. That's set to open up next fall. So it's been a tremendous investment. And I think if you ask a Louisiana Tech fan or, those within the athletic department, for so long in college athletics, it was a bit of an arms race, especially from a facility standpoint. That's kind of I'm not going to say it's taking a back seat, but maybe become a little bit lesser important in this whole NIL phase that we're in right now. But it's been really cool to see how Tech has evolved, particularly in football, in their investment. I think that was a huge piece as far as why they were one of the initial primary candidates for the Sun Belt when that came up earlier this summer. And you see some of that chatter across social media, and it's like, Louisiana Tech's not invested, but you guys will see it when you come to campus later this week. I mean, it's you talk about all the things with Joe Ice Stadium. It's a brand new baseball facility. It's a brand new softball facility, brand new soccer facility. So they've done a really good job facilities-wise at investing in athletics, and I think that's been a real huge positive for Tech over the years.
Mark, go ahead.
What is the sense in the community about moving to the Sun Belt? I know for years you guys probably resisted it. That was probably a step down at one point, and I think things have flipped on their head. I know at one point, the old joke a long time ago was that one day Southern Miss was going to wake up in the Sun Belt. This was probably 10 years ago. Lo and behold, that happened. Well, now the Sun Belt has really elevated on the national stage, especially in football. It's more of league of basically intense communities that really support their program more than markets. I think that's the way the Sun Belt went. What's the feeling around Ruston?
Yeah,
especially with Monroe down the road.
Yeah, I think the community overall has accepted it with flying colors. I think they're ecstatic. I think that you go all the way back to 2013 when Tech made the move to leave the Western Athletic Conference to go to Conference USA. I think that was the right move for Louisiana Tech at that point in time. Now, fast forward 12, 13 years later, Conference USA is a shell of itself, if we're being honest. And we're going into this football season, and Louisiana Tech's going to play road conference games at UTEP. They're going to play at Delaware. They're going to play Missouri State. And to be honest with you, it doesn't feel right. And from a fan perspective, it's hard to sell to a fan base. Let's go play this road game against Delaware. And even a program like Liberty, as good as they are athletically, it's hard to develop rivalries with a school all the way up in Lynchburg, Virginia. So getting back to some of these regional rivalries has been huge. I do some local radio here in Ruston, and just getting back into the same conference with Louisiana Monroe and Louisiana Lafayette and, Southern Miss and Arkansas State. I mean, our text lines, our phone lines are lighting up, just when we have those conversations on a weekly basis. So obviously you got to win. That initial buzz will die down once you are in the league. But to get this thing started here this summer, it's been a huge success. And I know, we had Brian Ivy, Louisiana Tech athletics director, on our show last week, and he talked about how when he got to Tech last March of 2024, this was a real talking point for him as far as just understanding where these programs needed to go. And they felt like the Sun Belt was the right direction, and I certainly agree with them.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, especially from afar, no question, with all the local rivalries with Monroe and Lafayette, Southern Miss, and the like. But speaking of rivalries, let's talk about one that used to exist, and that's Southeastern and Louisiana Tech back in the 60s. I know you can talk to a lot of the old-timers around here who played in some really intense football games back in 1960, 61 for conference championships, and honestly for a chance at a national championship. I know there were some couple of games that went back and forth there in 60 and 61 that cost each other a national championship. And obviously the Terry Bradshaw days in the late 60s, and obviously the programs went their separate ways, still played into the 80s before Southeastern dropped it. But now FCS versus FBS, always a money game for Southeastern. It's a chance to start the season for you guys. Just talk about it. What do you guys expect coming in from the Lions? I know it's been since 2021 since we've been up there.
Yeah, just thinking about that 2021 game, I'll be honest, I'm glad Cole Kelly's not at quarterback. He was a pretty good one. That was a nerve-wracking night for a lot of Tech fans. But, no, I think it's an exciting matchup. We had this conversation, I believe, last week as well. It's like when you look at the schedule, as far as the opponents you're most excited to play, I think Southeastern for Louisiana Tech this year, with the way that Conference USA looks, you're probably – top 2, top 3, top 4 as far as just an in-state school that you have some history with. And so as far as Southeastern goes, I got a chance to dive into them a little bit. You went 6 out of 7 last year to close out the year to finish 7-5. Frank Selfo is going to have his team ready to go. I know there's a lot of new pieces, especially at the quarterback position. So, it's probably a little bit, and I think this is the case for most teams in college football these days, especially early in the year. It's probably hard to prepare with all the personnel changes that you see year over year. But it's a Southeastern team. Traditionally, they control the pace of play. They run the football well. They don't turn it over. They don't commit too many penalties. And you flash back to last year's season opener against Nicholls State. Tech turned the football over 5 times, and sometimes you don't necessarily know what you're going to get in these season openers, but if you turn the football over, you're going to give your opponent as good of a chance as anyone to win, and I think it's going to be a really competitive 4-quarter football game on Saturday night.
You got some new coordinators in town on both sides of the ball. Your head coach is back. I don't mean this question to be like there's pressure on him about his job or anything, but as his staff, they have to feel some pressure that they want to have a good season or some pressure on them to have a good year to build off what you were talking about, this springboard into the Sun Belt Conference, like prove that, like, hey, we're the staff that can lead this charge. Is there any pressure you feel like on this staff and this team to really, hey, this is our year to show we're making this next jump to better our football program?
Oh, no, I think without a doubt. I mean, listen, Sonny Cumbie's been at Louisiana Tech for 3 years now. You're 11-26. You went 3-9 the first couple of years. You went 5-8 last year, which was a bit of a step forward. But the concerns a season ago were you just couldn't find any consistency week to week on the offensive side of the football. You're really good defensively, top 25, top 30 scoring defense. You look at total defense, I think they're top 15 nationally. So they're really good on that side of the ball, but you only win 5 games because you struggled so much offensively. So here we are now. Tony Franklin's back as the offensive coordinator. Ironically enough, he was the offensive coordinator at Louisiana Tech when Southeastern assistant Ross Jenkins was the starting quarterback here back in 2010. And, I think the fan base is super excited to have Tony Franklin back. They remember that 2012 offense that scored 51 points a game. It's one of the best in NCAA history. But I think the one caveat is obviously he doesn't have the NFL talent that he had, all those years ago. And I think it's going to look different from a style standpoint. I don't think you'll see a Tech team that wants to throw the ball 35, 40 times a game. I think especially early on in the year, Trey Kukuk's likely to start at quarterback. He's a junior college transfer. He's a dual threat type of guy. I think they're going to try to use that run game, lean on that offensive line as he gets his feet underneath him and gets settled into the collegiate game. And then on the other side of the ball, defensively, Jeremiah Johnson last year, 2024 defensive coordinator, left for Coastal Carolina. Luke Olson comes in from Jacksonville State. It'll look similar stylistically as far as a 3-3-5 scheme goes. I think they'll do some different things on the back end. Tech played a lot of zone last year, especially in the secondary. Olson's more of a guy that likes to play man-to-man, so you wonder how that transition goes. But I think the big question defensively is you lost your top 7 or 8 guys on the defensive line, and the key piece to that was David Blay at nose tackle, who's an all-conference USA guy. He transferred in the offseason to Miami, and you just wonder if you can stop the run. And I hope we find out Saturday night that either you can or you can't, so that you can adjust going forward as far as this season goes. But that's the big question defensively, is just how does this revamped defensive line look under a new defensive coordinator?
They lost
anybody that
No, I was going to say you lost some star power last year, and you talked about True Edwards. Obviously, you lost offense and Blay on defense, but you got some guys back. Colby Fields being one guy on defense. You got another Fields who'll play two offense and defense, and Jacob Fields, and you get a big tight end, Eli Finley. Talk about those guys if you would.
Yeah, first off, Colby Fields. He's a kid that obviously started his career at LSU. Started his career at South Carolina, went to LSU, and now he's at Louisiana Tech. He's fun, guys. Like, getting to be around him on a semi-regular basis. He just loves the game of football. Like, it doesn't matter if it's practice, game, walkthrough, weight room, whatever it is. He loves football, and it's refreshing in this era where sometimes you can get caught up in a lot of the stuff that's off the field. But he's a really good linebacker, played his high school football down there in the southern part of the state at Rummel. He was a preseason Conference USA Defensive Player of the Year coming into this year. Jacob Fields, you mentioned he'll play both ways a little bit this year. I'm interested to see what his role is on the offensive side of the ball. I think you're probably looking at 10 to 15 snaps, just trying to get him actively involved when he is in there. But as the season goes on, if he emerges into your one of your better playmakers, you wonder how does his role evolve defensively. And defensively, as good as Colby Fields was, as good as David Blay was, I think there was a legitimate argument that Fields was the best player on your defense last year. Jacob Fields, that is. He's a little smaller at 5'11", 180, 190 pounds for a safety, but he likes to come down in the box and he likes to mix it up. Has some good ball skills on the back end. He's a really good football player. And then as far as Eli Finley goes at tight end, 6'6", 245, 250 pounds. He's really your only proven playmaker from a skill position standpoint that is back. And, tight end's often overlooked in college football these days. So I think Tech's going to have to make it a point. I was looking at some numbers from last year. I think he averaged around 2.8 targets a game. I obviously expect that number to increase, but you wonder just how often they try to get him the football. If he can become sort of a security blanket over the middle of the field with the size that he has. But all three of those guys are really good football players and really good representatives of Louisiana Tech.
Good stuff.
You talk about a lot of different guys. Is there anybody that's maybe a portal guy coming in or a young guy that's kind of, under the radar, someone that you haven't seen before that you've heard about from the coaching staff or camp or whatever that you're like, I really want to see what this guy can do on the field, whether it's defense or offense? Anybody stand out to you that you're kind of really excited to see?
Yeah, I'll give you a few guys, offensive, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. Trey Kukoc at quarterback. He comes in from Saddleback Community College. If you know anything about Tony Franklin, he really recruits California JUCO players heavily. Like, it's kind of his niche, I guess you could say. And so he identified Kukoc early in the process. Evan Bullock started 10 games a season ago as a redshirt freshman, and I thought he was pretty solid, but I think it's been pretty evident through fall camp that Kukoc's outplayed him. I'm interested to see just the blend of a dual-threat quarterback. We haven't seen that at Louisiana Tech. He's got to be the best runner that I think I've seen since I've been covering the program or even going to Tech games for 30 years now. I mean, he can really run the football. I'm interested to see what the passing element looks like. Dane Benedicts is a teammate of Kukoc out at Saddleback. He'll be at a wide receiver spot. That's probably going to be the guy that he looks to early just with some of the familiarity. Devin Gandy's a speedster on the outside that transferred in from Sacramento State at wide receiver. So Benedicts and Gandy are probably early on your top two targets at wide receiver. And then defensively, I'll give you two defensive ends. Emmanuel Ogans and Jaden Matkins were signed out of Tyler Junior College. Both those guys had really good careers at Tyler Junior College. But like I mentioned earlier, if Tech's going to be even in the same ballpark as what they were a season ago defensively, they got to get high-level production on that defensive line, and it'll be up to Ogans and Matkins and a few other new faces to perform at that high level. But they're really impressive-looking athletes that have performed well throughout fall camp.
Good stuff. Mark, anything more for Ben?
No, that's awesome. That's great stuff, Ben. We appreciate you joining us. And let's talk about you with Bleed Tech Blue. That is on-3 rivals coverage for Louisiana Tech and Ruston. Talk about that, if you would, for a moment.
Yes, sir. We cover Louisiana Tech athletics, bleedtechblue.com. You can get us $11.99 a month. You can get us on all the social media channels, Twitter, Facebook. You can find our podcast. We have a weekly radio show, Bleed Tech Blue Radio, up here on Sports Talk 97.7 on Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. So if you get a chance, come join us. Check us all out. We got a really active message board, and pretty proud of the work that we put together on a weekly basis.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. Look forward to seeing you guys this weekend.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate y'all. Y'all have a good one.
All right, that's Ben Carlisle. You heard him there, bleedtechblue.com. He covers the Bulldogs weekly, yearly, 365. It seems like it never stops. Ben, thanks for being on with us tonight. We'll see you on Saturday. Look, thanks for your time.
Good luck,
thanks,
Ben.
guys. Y'all have a good one. See y'all.
All right. All right, welcome back. Thanks for sticking with us here. Ben Carlisle with our special guest. As Mark mentioned there, he's with bleedtechblue.com. He has a radio show in Ruston. Mark, it was great having Ben on. Great insight about what the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs have kind of in their repertoire. It's a big year for them, as he kind of talked about, with this jump coming. I think you think back to with all this conference realignment we've seen over the last 10, 12 years, there's always athletic departments, administrations always want to create that spark. And so, look, if they don't feel like the coaching staff is giving them what they need to excite people, they're going to make a change. And so that's kind of what I think that is kind of in the weeds there with Louisiana Tech Athletics for their head coach and his staff about what they need to do this season to prove that they're the right group of coaches to lead this Tech team into the Sun Belt Conference. And look, the Sun Belt is the right place, I think, for Tech, where they are, their history. He kind of mentioned it. I mean, he kind of just mentioned a bunch of FCS teams, Mark, to be honest with you, playing Delaware, Missouri State, Sam Houston's in that league, Jacksonville State's in that league. Who am I missing that's also in that Conference USA league? Is UTSA in that league?
Well, Jacksonville State, Sam Houston, Jacksonville State, Delaware, we talked about. I'm trying to remember the others, but yeah, it's Middle Tennessee.
Yeah.
But it's not the league it used to be. I mean, Conference USA was the kind of where the American Conference is now at one point.
Yeah, it used to be a great league.
It was TCU, Southern Miss, Memphis. There's all the teams that are in the American. Tulane, yeah, and the old running joke, kind of what I was alluding to before, when I was scouting, running around ballparks, is if Southern Miss doesn't do something, they're going to wake up in the Sun Belt, because back then the Sun Belt was looked at as kind of where Conference USA is now.
Yeah,
kind of a spread out, just haphazard league.
People that just are
programs, basically FCS move ups
that want to say they're FBS.
Yeah, want to say they're FBS. Western Kentucky is
not funded correctly and stuff like that.
Western Kentucky's in Conference USA. I don't know if we said them or not, but what happened is the Sun Belt smartly went after programs. They went after App State, which is a program, Georgia Southern, Marshall. I mean, all those programs, Coastal Carolina. Although Coastal Carolina was a well-funded program, had a great baseball program. You already had Louisiana Lafayette, Monroe is in it. It wasn't a flag bearer, but I mean it was
Arkansas State.
You went after programs that James Madison. I mean, we know all about James Madison. They are the biggest budget in the Sun Belt by far. As soon as they went FBS, they were going to be the biggest budget easily because they have such a high student fee. So going after programs, they were able to elevate. So Louisiana Tech actually, to me, is a perfect fit for that league. It fits right in, and such a storied program, as we know. Obviously we were rivals back in the '60s. A lot of the guys who played back then, who are still around, talk about those days fondly, and obviously a great tradition with the Bradshaws and so many NFL prospects, Roger Carr, and so many guys that have gone on and had great careers in the NFL, and they've had such success over the years, at the FCS level, which was 1AA back in the day. And of course, when they went to Division or FBS or Division 1A, making bowl games year after year after year. So obviously a 3-year slide under Coach Cumbie. I mean, fans are a little bit restless, and it's understandable.
Who do they have before Gumpy? I know that the guys at TCU was there and then left.
Skip Holtz was.
That's right.
The head coach there last time we were up there, and of course
he did a good job there. I think he kind of slumped at the end
before that.
Yeah. So, it's going to be a good test, and Southeastern goes into these games. Haven't won one since the return of the program officially. You had the Jacksonville State win, which wasn't. They had more scholarships than you did, but they weren't officially FBS yet. Texas State was another one in 2011, Mark, I think it was. Yeah, I mean, more scholarships.
3 in a row on the way out.
Yeah. But no official full-fledged FBS member. Had some close calls, going back to some of those Tulane games in 07, 09, 11.
I mean, officially, you have one in the 80s, UL Lafayette.
Right.
I'm
saying since the program
1AA split.
Yeah. When the program returned is what I'm trying to say.
Return, no.
This Louisiana Tech game in recent history is probably the closest one you had. 2021. He talked about Monroe. Kelly.
At Monroe was a 3-point game, 2 3-point games. You had Frank Thelfo's first game in 2018.
Yeah. Right.
Mike Lucas in 2010. A game you should have won. Actually, should have probably won 2 games. 2 close calls. Tulane was a close call a couple of times, really 3 times. One at LSU after Katrina, and then a couple in the Superdome in 2007 and 2010. So this program's had close calls, and you've played teams well. Of course, you look back to last year.
Ole Miss stands out too. It wasn't like it was a 10,
that's a
10
one-score
13 point game, but it was a really good football game against a Power 5 SEC team. So, yeah, but look, you know how these games go. You want to go be competitive. If you go into this game and you're look, I hate to say it like this, but you kind of do want to say this against a team like Tech. If you go in there and get blown out against this team, and you probably have some questions about yourself.
I think this team would. Last year you got to realize we had some injuries coming out of the opener. With Tulane, he had some injuries, and of course the Southern Miss game. Everybody looks at that score and said you got blown out by a team that won one game. That was the one game. But if you watch the game,
it was closer than that.
Well, you almost feel like if you played again next week, we would beat them. But certainly later in the year, we'd probably beat them by a couple of scores. I mean, physically, the matchup, we dominated the line of scrimmage in that game, especially our defense against their offensive line. They did nothing on offense. They had an interception return. They had a kind of a big score late, with a minute left or something like that in garbage time. But really, they done nothing offensively. And of course, we were in the middle of a quarterback situation, just trying to find ourselves an identity on offense. But typically we've played well against non-Power 4, Power 5 FBS schools, and I expect this team to go in there and play well. I think this is going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 4-quarter game. It should be. And again, openers are tough. I mean, as we always talk about, the things that separate FCS teams and FBS teams are those remaining scholarships. Southeastern's underfunded as it is, so you're not at the 63 limit, so you're below. So you're playing with guys that walked on, whereas Tech's got 85, and probably more than that now with the new settlement. So where the difference is on special teams, and usually that's where you always have a breakdown. And I think I've looked at it, 8 out of the last 11 matchups versus FBS teams, Southeastern has either given up a defensive score or a special team score that have honestly directly led to basically losing the ball game. So that's something that's got to be eliminated. That's giving up a score, our offense against their defense, or a special teams breakdown. So you got to limit that first and foremost. And I think if you do that, I think just as it plays out at the line of scrimmage, I think we match up pretty well, I think, especially our defense against their offense. And I think our offensive line is really good. And I think, we're going to be a lot more dynamic on offense than we were the last 2 years, certainly. Much more explosive at wide receiver, more athletic at quarterback. We'll be able to do a lot more things as far as personnel groupings and packages and that sort of thing. So, last year it was a struggle to score on anybody. As you know, but I don't see that being a problem this year. But again, it's FBS, and we haven't won one. Until we do, they're always going to be tough.
I think that's right, and sums it up. But you heard from Coach Shelfo today. He met with the media. Feels good about this team. Feels good about the program. And he's going to this game looking to be competitive and play. And you're going to see a lot of new faces. You're going to see a lot of guys who've been here, been played on this team with really significant minutes and contributed heavily. But it should be an exciting game. I'm excited to watch it.
Well, I'll just tell you, they're looking to do more than just go up and be competitive. I mean, They want to go up there and win. I mean, this program is the point now where, and I'm not predicting a win by any stretch. I mean, can't predict an FBS win, but you're at the point in your program where if you want to be on the level of a North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana States, those type of programs, that's where we aspire to be. You got to feel like you can go in and win one of these games, because that's what they do. They would never play a non-Power 5. Matter of fact, they expect to go beat Power 5 programs. In South Dakota State, I know when they went in Oklahoma State last year, felt like they had a chance to win. North Dakota State, I think, won like 8 or 9 in a row. So you have to have that mindset. If you don't, you're never going to achieve the level you want to achieve. So you can't, we just got to go there and play well, come out healthy. Yeah, that's what you hope that happens after the fact, but going in, you go in to win the football game.
I would say, Mark, and I could be wrong, I would say the teams that finish in the top 8 of the FCS playoffs at the end of the season in December, I would say 5 or 6 of those top 8 could go in there and win this game Saturday.
Oh, I don't think there's any doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
The Dakotas, I think all 4 Dakotas, the Montanas, I think would feel like if they lost that game, they would be upset. They would be calling for heads because they would feel like that would be a winnable game against Tech has a proud program. They're a little bit on a down stretch. They're hoping to bounce out of it this year, but they would look. I think
the Sun Belt will. I think they just kind of being in Ruston, and I spent some time up there with golf stuff and knowing people up there. It's a great town. It's actually a growing community.
Mm-hmm.
Monroe is shrinking like crazy. Shreveport is shrinking like crazy. That whole I-20 area is just kind of really not growing. It's shrinking. But the Ruston area, from what I understand, is actually growing, and people want to move there.
Hammond. Hammond's in the same boat.
It's a great town. It's a great area. It's right there on the interstate. It's blown up a lot. But I think, and there's a lot of support, a ton of support up there. A lot of people love the Bulldogs in Monroe and even points west and south and north of there and kind of the rural areas. A lot of Bulldog fans. And I think the Sun Belt jump could really springboard them. And, there's been rumors out of Monroe, about what their future holds. They're in really a deep trouble situation. And so I think for the league's perspective, I think if you ask the Sun Belt people behind closed doors, they don't know what the future of Monroe is in the Sun Belt. And getting Louisiana Tech solidifies that, that team that can be from that region to kind of be that regional rival, like we heard Ben talk about with like Lafayette and Southern Miss, Arkansas State, stuff like that.
Well, let's just face it head on. It makes for a great rivalry 30 minutes away, but let's face it, Monroe is cutting budget. I know that's the rumors, and AD resigned not too long ago, and so their budget fits more like a Southland budget. And honestly, that's where UL Monroe belongs. They belong in the Southland Conference, and really always have. I know they tried to make the move, and it's a pride thing. Idaho, look at what Idaho did. Idaho jumped, swore they would never drop back down. Will they go back to the Big Sky? A lot of their fan base said, "We'll never support you again." Well, they are as popular as they've ever been right now. Idaho has really blown up. Of course, we played them in the playoffs that first year and beat them, but they sell out every game. They are a hot item now when they were not, when they were in the Sun Belt, in the WAC and all that. But so I think Monroe would benefit because their best success was at the FCS level. So
just a joke. I mean, there's so much value in playing for something, at the end of the season, getting into a playoff opportunity and trying to win and hoist a trophy, and win multiple games and be a champion, right? I mean, it's just such a pride thing. It's like a height measuring contest for these schools and these people that fund them to say, oh, we can't be FCS. When you play this season and like, oh my gosh, we just went 10-2 in the Sun Belt this year. We had a great season. We won the league. Well, were you the best group of 5 team? Are you going to get that 12th spot? Well, no, we didn't get that. That went to Boise. So what happens to y'all now? Well, we're going to go play in the Mobile Bowl over here.
Yeah, it's the same Mobile.
It's just the most boneheaded thought process I've ever seen. Like, if you're a Monroe fan, I mean, Tech's a different ball game, right? I mean, they're still in that ball game, but like the people that are in the Monroe, I don't want to get this on the Monroe train, but like, it's just a joke to think that like, why do you not want to be a part of this FCS playoff opportunity, run? And that's just. It's blown me away forever, and even Lafayette, they walk around with their chest out, and we're this and that. I mean, again, they're not doing anything of any significance during the postseason. They're having this season. They get some national TV games. They get to play their Sun Belt championship on national TV, and then they go and they play a December 20th bowl game, and then their season's over. And it's like, wow, that was awesome.
I would argue UIW has gotten more run in the last few years than those guys with Cam Ward.
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's something I'll never fully grasp of why the people in charge, I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, bottom line is we are where we are, and we've got
we're in a great spot.
I love the Southland. Well, I mean, the Southland has its challenges, but I think where it's going. Not to get off on too much of a tangent here. We're talking Louisiana Tech and this week, but UTRGV, we just saw the unveiling of their new facilities. If you haven't seen it, go online, check it out. Wow. I think they dropped close to $100 million on a new football. It's more than a football facility, but it's basically their football complex. It's away from their stadium, but it's two full-size turf fields. You've got training room, weight room, locker room, everything. I think they house a couple other sports in there as well. But it's phenomenal. I mean, it's as good as anything in the NFL or most Power Fives, honestly.
Yeah, and rumor has they've got 250,000, 300,000 NIL money available
or more, and they need it, honestly, because of where they're located. But they're investing. They're all in. They sell out in baseball. Basketball's good, so that's a great add to this league. It's tough for us because of the travel, but that's a tremendous get for the Southland Conference. I think East Texas A&M was a good addition. So I think where the league is right now is perfect, and this is a good spot for us. We don't need to be in the Sun Belt Conference or biting off more than we can chew, and you just got to master where you are. And I think it's a good niche for us. Because we're Division I in baseball, we do well, and obviously basketball, we hold our own, and in women's sports. So just wanted to get that in there. But big game this week, Robbie. Louisiana Tech opens the season. I think there's a lot of optimism here in Hammond. That's a game I feel like we could go in there and compete well and have a chance. You just want to have that puncher's chance at the end, and you got to play well. You can never go in and slop around or make mistakes early and then fall behind too soon and let their crowd
get the crowd into it.
Yeah, but I feel like just physically, I think our athletes against theirs are going to match up well. Especially up front. And I think we've got some skill players that I think can go and so we'll put our best foot forward and see if we can go in there and still a win.
Yeah, it should be a great atmosphere. Don't forget, fans, lineupcollective.com. You heard Coach Selfo talk about it when he visited with me today. Got to get that going. Got to get it, keep growing. I know it's been a nice little start, but the athletic department, the football program, all athletic programs on campus need you to support if you can. They're looking for $25 a month for 12 months, looking for 100 people or 1,000 people to do it. So if you haven't done it yet, please do it. It would really a great help to help this program get the NIL footing growing and keep athletes that they're recruiting here.
And you just brought it up. UTRGV, UIW, SFA, McNeese, Nichols, they're all in the game. They're all in the NIL business. And if we don't get support, you're going to wake up and we're going to be left behind. And now you're looking at really looking up at from the bottom up. And you just don't want to be that program. We're well positioned right now athletically, with obviously women's softball, with, baseball's doing outstanding. Football's been really good the last few years. And J.R. Teagues has done a great job, keeping this fort together. But, the fan base has got to really pitch in and try to at least keep guys here. And, it's not necessarily about going out and getting that high-priced quarterback. We're not getting that guy. But you can go out and get a solid piece, but you can keep your core here. Coach Selfo talked about that today. You get a guy like Ian Connerly Goodley to come back, which, he talked about that at his press conference today. But it's the Caleb Proctors who stay. Because this staff does a great job. Again, it's another thing we talked about today. They've done a great job recruiting high school players. And if you look at Gage Larvadane's going to make the Cleveland Browns. He was a high school player who had no offers. Southeastern gave him his chance. Zy Alexander got cut today, but he's another. Jack Henderson. You just look at Bauer Sharp at LSU, and there's so many guys that Southeastern has been able to identify and grow in this program. If you can keep those guys here, you can really build something here in Hammond.
That's it. Great job, Mark. I want to thank Ben Carlisle from BleedTechBlue.com. He hosts a podcast, radio show, covers all things tech, but check him out this week leading up to game day. Lions, Bulldogs, 6:30 kickoff on Saturday. The network airtime is 6 o'clock, as always. Mark, looking forward to another season. This is how long have we been doing this now? It's our 19th season together. So
21 for me.
21 for you, 19 for you and I. So pretty awesome to be back. Excited. I'll be talking to you guys when you guys are up there in Ruston from back here, but looking forward to an exciting weekend, getting football started again, and a game that you have an opportunity to go play well and have a chance in the fourth quarter. Should be fun. For Mark Willoughby and Robbie Rhodes, I want to thank Ben Carlisle again. Thanks for being with us. This has been the Southeastern Sports Network podcast. We'll talk to you next week as we get ready for Murray State and hopefully talk about a Southeastern win against the Louisiana Tech Bulldogs.
Line up.